What's up guys, Omega here and welcome back to GT7 for my latest top 5 best all-round Group 3 cars after the latest update, which is update 1.44. They have done another update 1.45, and that was just to basically bring the Ford GT test car back into line because they gave it 60 power or something like that, which was obviously a mistake. Yeah, it's update 1.44, update 1.45, whatever it is, it's relevant to this latest update. I'm going to go from number 5 to number 1. With number 1 being what I think is going to be the best car for this update. So if you get any value out of these videos or you enjoy them at any point, let me know by dropping a like on them and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss when I drop these. Top 5 best Group 3 cars each update, along with a whole bunch of other useful information. And let's get straight into it. So starting out with number 5, we have got the Corvette. This car has been balanced in the low speed tracks and buffed in the mid speed BOP tracks. Pros for the Corvette are that it has very good pace, outright pace. We've seen at Monza the other week where the Supra was dominant, but the Corvette was actually a very close competitor in the race. And now it's been made a little bit better. Again, I think this car is very stable. In my opinion, it's pretty good to drive and it's very good on tires. Well, kind of. I did some testing, just some very basic tire and fuel testing for all of the cars in this video. And the Corvette did way outperform the other cars in terms of tires. It made it to the 650 mark on the first run, on the second straight, where all the other cars did not make it anywhere near that far. And so I retested it, and sure enough, the car went even further. What it seems like is that the car has ordinary tire wear, but the drop off from about a quarter of tire life all the way to the end of the tire when it's absolutely dead seems to be quite drawn out, and I don't know why this is. I don't know if it's the nature of the test or what it is, but I thought it was worth noting anyway. The car does seem to be very good on tires for some reason, but it is also awful on fuel. In the fuel testing, it did the worst out of any of the cars on this list. Kind of to be expected in a V8 like that, I suppose. And then moving on to number 4, we have again the Toyota Supra. This car's got good top speed. It's been buffed in the mid speed. It's not bad on tires. I wouldn't say it's excellent, but it did perform the second best out of any of the cars on the list in terms of tire wear. And it placed 4th on the list for fuel. The only downsides to this car is that it's kind of a little bit tricky to get used to the gearing. Sometimes I double shift this car and also short shift the car. And it's also a little bit tricky to drive on the hards, which we do have quite frequently. And moving on to number 3, we have the RCZ. This car is excellent to drive. I left it out of the last list, not necessarily intentionally. And now with the latest update, this car has been buffed in the high speed BOP. In my opinion, this car is very good to drive. It's very good in the wet. It's not too bad on fuel, but it does struggle a little bit with tire wear. It did place 3rd on the list for fuel and 4th on the list for tire wear. So just so you guys know, I'm not basing this list only on the fuel and tire wear. There's a number of factors, including drivability and things like that. And moving on to number 2, we have the Audi R8. This car is absolutely dominating the leaderboard here at Catalonia this week and was also very competitive at Spa last week, except the RS01 did have it over the R8 at Spa. But still, the R8 is very fast. The car is very good on fuel. It actually did the best out of the cars on this list in my fuel test, and it also came 3rd for tire wear. But the thing is that the tire test really is a very simple tire test, and overall I do think that the R8 probably realistically performs worse than it did in this test, just because the car is very slippery. Depending on how the car behaves during the race and how you drive it, if the car's all over the place, which the R8 kind of is, it's a little bit difficult to drive. That's the only reason that it's not number 1 on the list. So realistically, I think the tire wear would probably be worse than a lot of the other cars. Another thing to note is that this car has long gear ratios similar to the McLaren. At Spa, I found I was having to use first gear instead of second gear quite a lot. So just something to be aware of. And this car has been buffed in the high speed BOP. And moving on to number 1, this car is what I think probably is the best all-round Group 3 car right now, and that is the Renault RS01. That may or may not be a surprise to anyone, but this is purely due to its outright pace and its drivability. It's been buffed in the mid and the high speed categories. Very decent on fuel. It came 2nd in my testing. And the only downside really to this car is the tire wear, at least in this test. But as I said, this car is quite drivable. And compared to something like the R8, although it did worse in my test, realistically, it's probably going to be better on tires than the Audi R8 for most people, I would assume. And something to note about this car is that it has shorter gear ratios. So opposite to the R8, where you have to use first gear a lot, I found when I was time trialing Spa, I was in a much higher gear than I'm kind of used to being in, even compared with the Supra, which you do use quite high gears around Spa. So there you have it. That is my list of the top 5 best all-round Group 3 cars in Gran Turismo 7 right now. And this is just my opinion, but it is based on data and my knowledge of the game Let me know what you guys think of this list. Would you have a different list? Is there any car that I've left out that you think deserves to be on there? Or do you agree with it? Anyways, that's all from me. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, let me know by dropping a like and subscribing on the way out. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.